You can see how organized we are up here. If you don't feel good about yourself, follow us around. But yeah, I just want to say a little bit about these two guys right here, and I want you to introduce yourself and then Brady. So this guy right here is the first person that I talked to that was interested in saving an Ozark Chinquapin tree, and the year was 2005. And this guy right here is absolutely incredible. He's one of the best botanists I've ever known and met, and he's a boots on the ground botanist, and he gets out there and does it. And he has like a garden of Eden on his property. And he first told me about a tree, a large Chinquapin tree, and I made a trip down there to actually see what was left of it and talk to him. A tornado took it out, he'll tell you. And then he's been meeting all kinds of people, just like a lot of y'all have done, and inspiring others, just like I was inspired by one person. And so then Brady is real busy. He's got I don't know how this guy is even standing here when I see what kind of work he does. I'm not going to complain about not having enough time for anything after I saw you and what you did. But how many acres of land do you own, Brady?
75 at my house, about 300 or 400 family land. Right
And
beside it.
this guy is busy. He does construction. He does a little bit of everything on the road, doing work, and then he still has time to be over his land, finding Chinquapin trees, planting them, looking for them. And we went out and saw some, and this is right down by the Louisiana border. That's where this was at. And Taylor, Arkansas sits right about on the border, I guess. Mayhem, both y'all working together on what you're doing is inspiring. And so actually Brady has our first restoration plot in southwest Arkansas. And it's right by native population of them, kind of like the first restoration planting that Arkansas Forestry did. And so, folks, we're by degrees making more and more progress as we go, and it's making a difference. And anything we can move forward, like those seed that we got last year from Arkansas Forestry plot, that restoration plot, any of that we do is good. So we got two kinds of plots. We got research test plots, which we learn information on. We make mistakes sometimes, but we also focus on what is successful, and we share that with you. The other type of restoration plot is, then the other plot we do is a restoration plot. And on it we have two kinds. One of them where there's no Chinquapins left, but they were there maybe in the 70s or the 50s or whatever. Or the other type of restoration plot we have is where you have remnant populations still there. We're taking our best of our best, mano a mano, putting them right there where they can cross-pollinate. And so the one that I just described is what they've got going on there. It's really good. So I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce yourself. If you can take the microphone here. And Larry went to a lot of work to be up here for us. And he's kind of like me. I wasn't feeling too good yesterday. And I'm just glad that he came up here to be with us. So I think we need to give them both a big hand for carving out time to be here.
My name's Larry Burford. I live in Columbia County, Arkansas. It's right on the Louisiana line. I got interested in Chinquapin trees back when I was in high school in forestry, and kind of set out trying to find one. And I started asking older people, and some of those had told me about large trees that used to be in our area, and we couldn't find any. And then I found out about the blight. Well, eventually found some trees in South Arkansas, and Brady, he lives in Columbia County also. I'll let him introduce himself.
Brady Broom, kind of a unique story. I grew up always hearing of Larry. I didn't know him personally. Some of my cousins were really good friends with him and went to school with him, and we kind of had separate tracks. I knew he was a tree guru, and I was fascinated by trees. I got a half a forestry degree when I was in college, and I remember, I kind of relate to Terrence's stories back there about my old aunts and uncles talking about beating them, and I remember back in the 90s, I used to have to beat my aunt down to a little grove of trees that I could get some nuts to plant because she was down there picking them up to eat. So Larry and I got hooked up, then, after that, and we've been trading seeds and saplings and, just planting them all over the place. I think I may know of where 25 or 30 native trees are, probably 100 plus trees that we've planted and scattered around, including the ones on the test plot. Let you go ahead with your presentation.
Okay. All right, this is a tree that was in North Louisiana. Just a few years before this picture was taken, it was a healthy tree, and the landowners went out and tried to help the tree by trimming the limbs and fertilizing under it. They didn't know anything about the chestnut blight, so it ended up killing the tree. But it was a huge tree. It's a few miles south of us, and it's in North Louisiana. Since then, there were sprouts and smaller trees in that area, but it's been clear cut, and all the trees in that area are gone now. But that was a huge tree. I wish I could have seen it when it was alive. And that's the same tree, showing some of the resprouting that was around it. And there were smaller trees there that were producing nuts when I was there. But unfortunately, all of those are gone now. And that's some of the leaves on it right there. And you can look at that and tell that's the Ozark Chinquapin leaf, not an Allegheny. That's the same spot. That's one of the smaller trees there, but it was still probably 15, 20 foot tall. I wish they could have saved those trees and then seen how big they would have got. Same trees, you can see some of those flowering right there. Okay, this was a fellow named Ken Smith that I worked with at International Paper Company, and he had a native tree growing in his yard in Spring Hill, Louisiana, which is just across the line from where I live, just a few miles. And he grew up in north central Louisiana, around Lake Darbon, close to Ruston, Louisiana. And he told us when he was young that there were big Chinquapin trees, 50, 60 foot tall or more. He said, when he described it, he said as tall as a telephone pole and 2 foot diameter. He said there were a lot of them down there then. But I got a sprout off of this tree, and I believe I gave Steve some seed off of it, and I think he still has some seed growing from this tree right here. And that's just a close-up of the bark of that tree that they were standing by. That was my dad standing by Mr. Smith in that slide before that. And that was in 1993. Yeah, it looks like it was around 21 inches in circumference, that tree was there. But I went down, that tree's no longer there. Mr. Smith died. I'm not sure if the tree had died from blight or what happened to it, but it's no longer there. That's just some pictures of the birds on there. And you can see the birds on the Chinquapins in our area, they look different than the ones up here. Those that don't have as long spines and stuff on as the ones up here. They're just, the ones in our area, they're distinctly different looking to me than the ones in North Arkansas, Missouri. Okay, so I saw an article in a magazine about the Squirrel River Chinquapin tree, and it was owned by Jeff Deaton. And I looked him up and got his phone number and called him, and went up and visited him and got to see the tree. Unfortunately, a few years after that, it got taken out by a tornado. And And this is a picture of Mr. Deaton I took when I was there with this giant Chinquapin tree. It was tall too. It was, I don't know, at least 60, 65 feet tall. It's actually two trees growing beside each other there.
What year was that?
It was in the late 90s. I'm not sure exactly what year it was. I can't remember. Let's see. Mr. Deaton's tree measured almost 60 inches in circumference in 1994. So that was 94 when I was there the first time. It was 54 inches in 87 when it was recognized as a national champion of Ozark Chinquapin. And that's a picture of his certificate that he got for having the largest Chinquapin tree in Arkansas. And this American Forest, that's the magazine that I saw that that had his tree listed in it, and that's what led me to find him. And I went to his house 2 or 3 times and visited him and looked at the tree. And that's a picture of the canopy of it. You can see, I think I've got a picture in the winter too, you can see, I think it may be next. That was in the summer of 94. Yeah, and there's the winter I went back. But you can kind of see the tree form better and see how tall it was. There wasn't any limbs on it for 20 or 30 feet. That's the upper branches of the tree in the winter of 94. Okay, this is small trees loaded with Chinquapins that were growing near the national champion tree in Alpine, Arkansas. So hopefully some of those trees are still alive. And I think there may be a sprout from the old original tree that's still there. And that's not far from here, by the way. That's another one there that was on his place. Okay, these are some articles that a fellow sent me that came from a newspaper's site, old articles all the way from the 1800s up to now. But that was a giant Chinquapin tree that died in the 70s in Louisiana, and it was over 7 feet in circumference. You can see at the bottom how huge it was. You know, most people don't realize Chinquapin trees got that big. Let's see. This is an interesting one here. It's an article from 1881 describing a tree in Georgia that was large enough for 200 to 300 people to stand under and be in the shade all day long. The tree is said to have had Chinquapins to furnish 300 people a quart of Chinquapin nuts for that day. That'd be about 75 gallons of Chinquapin nuts off of that one tree. This is an article from 1974 about a national champion Chinquapin tree in Caddo Parish, which is just south of where I live. You may have heard of Shreveport, Louisiana. That's where Caddo Parish is. So this tree was 50 feet tall and 10 feet in circumference and had a 60-foot limb spread. Now a lot of people think Ozark Chinquapins weren't in Louisiana, but you know, Allegheny doesn't get that big. I'm gonna let Brady take over here because this is from his place.
This picture was actually just from a couple of days ago. And then, like I said, I kind of have I'd like to meet Mr. Terrence back there because I'm a firebug too, and I actually found this tree doing a controlled burn. And when Steve and his daughter came down last year, we talked about how I believe they're actually pretty fire resistant because I ran a really hot controlled burn through this, and this tree is suffered at all, doesn't seem like. I don't know, I didn't put a tape on it like Larry did, I guess I'll learn next time. Another friend of mine, is actually my brother-in-law's dad, his name is Douglas Collier, he owns several hundred acres, just back west of my place and north of Taylor. And he's probably got, he actually went and flagged in case Steve wanted to pass through there on his way to Texas, but he flagged, he told me yesterday, 20 native trees on his place in case somebody wanted to come look at them. But he also told Larry and I a story that day of a giant tree that he remembered when he was a kid. We didn't get a picture of it, I don't think, but the log is still laying on the ground.
I may have put it on here.
Have you? Okay.
Maybe the last one.
All right.
That's just,
Some trees out on his place there. Oh, yeah. This old log, I mean, I think he said it died when he was a little kid, maybe, when you remember running around, and to show you how rock resistant it is the old log's been there